What is up, guys? Rick Cactus here, and today we are going to be taking a closer look at one of the new supers coming to Destiny 2 with the Forsaken expansion, the Nova Warp Void Warlock super, as well as providing a bunch of background gameplay from patrol mode in the new Tangled Show area. Now, I was able to capture this footage at the Forsaken launch event, so thank you to Activision for providing for my flights and accommodations so I could attend. Now, let's get started on talking about this brand new super first off. So yes, this is the new Void Warlock super, so you can now choose this as a brand new attunement when utilizing your Voidwalker subclass, and because it's a new attunement, it does come with several new abilities. The first thing you're going to unlock right off the bat is the new super, Nova Warp. This thing, it's pretty crazy. Essentially, when you activate it, you are going to be able to move around the map via teleportation. It feels like Blink, a certain version of Blink, and you can activate this Blink quite a bit. Like, you can zigzag, blink, 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 honestly, that fast. So you can make your way around the map and get into positions in which you want to damage enemies very, very easily. And that is going to make it, just the mobility, I think is going to make it somewhat of a player in PvP, because being able to dodge left and right and go invisible while you dodge, well, actually just travel through space-time while you dodge, is definitely going to let you get into those advantageous positions. Now, once you get into that position, you get to essentially slam the ground. I would compare this super definitely to the Striker Titan. When you're attacking, you're smashing the ground, you're dealing damage in an area of effect, but your mobility with the Nova Warp is so much better than just running with the Striker. However, your actual damage output isn't that great, at least at first, and that's because the Nova Warp has kind of two modes of damage output. If you press right trigger very quickly, you're just going to do a basic area of effect damage. But if you hold the right trigger, you'll see your character start to charge kind of an orb and then let it go, and you'll do much more damage. So it's up to you to decide if you want to just, quickly damage low level enemies, or if you want to hold it for more damage when fighting, knights and so on. Now, apparently, a quick explosion is not going to kill outright in PvP. You will have to hold it to get those kills, and that's kind of the balancing factor. It would be a little ridiculous and so much better than Striker if it was just a quick explosion would kill PvP enemies. However, like I said, you have more perks going on with this brand new attunement. Firstly, you have the new melee ability, Atomic Breach. It's a ranged melee attack that creates a void explosion, but you can turn your grenade into a handheld supernova that you can also wield at close range. To be perfectly honest, I didn't really feel like this was a massive ranged attack. It felt kind of like a normal Warlock melee. Now, what's actually ranged is the Chaos Reach Arc Warlock melee ability. You shoot an electric ball that just goes for a long, long time in front of you, so that definitely felt ranged. This, not so much. Moving on from there, however, we have another perk called Dark Matter, which grants a small amount of health and gives Rift, melee, and grenade energy when you get kills with your abilities. So some built-in synergy right there. So, how is this brand new super overall as a package? Well, I didn't get to use it in PvP during Gambit, but I talked a lot about it to people who did. Apparently it's pretty decent. They were impressed by it. Essentially, you just can warp while in the air. So you jump into the air, activate it, warp, warp, warp down on someone, and you hold your explosion for the extra damage while you're falling, and just completely get the jump on them, and you can destroy quite a lot of enemies that way. However, in my PvE experience, I did feel like it was a pretty decent super. However, I felt like it wasn't as good as just a Striker Titan, simply because holding down and kind of wasting time and super energy when you're holding down your attack to deal pretty much just as much damage as a Striker Slam would do, like, that isn't necessarily jiving with me. The mobility is fantastic. The mobility is the reason you were going to want to pick this super over anything else, because it's so good, but that's more at home for PvP. So while I definitely didn't feel like this was substantially lacking in PvE or anything like that, I do feel like there's better options out there, especially when looking at the new supers. Chaos Reach is nuts, and also Burning Maul for the Titan is absolutely insane. Like, there's better options out there, I think, but this does seem like a pretty powerful PvP super. In many ways, it's a purely upgraded, more meant for PvP striker, which sounds pretty good to me. Now, let's take a little bit of time to talk about the Tangled Shore, this new patrol area. It's pretty darn sweet. I would say, size-wise, it seems to be bigger than Mars. There was definitely 3 distinct public event areas where you could have, public events actually spawn. And this is compared to just 2 on Mars and only 1 on Mercury, but Mercury is a whole different story. We're trying to forget all about that. But yeah, Tangled Shore felt like there was always stuff to do. It was pretty vast and it felt like a pretty good size area. This would be great if just this was the new area being added with the expansion. Like, it really did feel like Mars Plus. But remember, there's also the Dreaming City, a whole nother area that we get to see as well. So size-wise and just content-wise, it's looking very good for Forsaken. And by the way, I said this in my last video when I talked about the new Malfeasance exotic hand cannon. Definitely check that out if you haven't. But you'll see in the background gameplay me participating in the brand new Cryo Pod Public Event. And now I'm going to explain to you guys how to trigger the heroic version of this brand new Tangled Shore public event. So if you've already seen this in the previous video, feel free to stop watching, but for those of you here for the first time, so here's what you do. Once you activate the Cryo Pod Public Event, there's just going to be a bunch of enemies that spawn in for a time period, and then the cryopod itself is going to open and a boss is going to jump out. Do not kill this boss. You can by all means wound it, but do not kill it. Because what's going to happen is that the ground near the cryopod will be affected by the cryo-electrical energy. Like, you'll see the ground kind of covered in electricity and an ice effect, and you'll start to take damage when you're standing within this effect. So, when you see this happening, look to the bottom of the cryopod. You're going to see some small circles that are actually venting steam. If you shoot these circles that are venting, you can actually do damage to them. Shoot them enough and deal enough damage and they will break open, exposing a cryo ball. Head forward and pick up this cryo ball and throw it at the boss. Now once you hit the boss 3 times in total, he's actually going to freeze still, and then there's going to be a white objective circle around him. You stand within this objective circle and just hold out until it gets to 100%, and then you'll be able to complete this brand new public event, and everyone around you is going to be jealous that you know how to activate this. Guys, that's it for the video. Hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. And if you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCactus. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.